A French soldier named Henry Barbusse published one of the first novels about World War I. It was called Le Fou, a story of a squad. And in his recollections, he wrote, "Two armies that fight each other is like one army committing suicide." When we last left our hero, Lieutenant Henry, he had just been wounded and was on his way to the hospital in the back of one of the ambulances he was supposed to be driving. My name is Tricia Sulpizio. I'm your host for another episode of Team Bedtime Stories. It's a podcast for anyone who likes books, and in this episode we'll continue reading A Farewell to Arms. It's a novel by Ernest Hemingway, published in 1929, and last time we finished part 2 of chapter 9 in book 1, and so we'll continue the story with chapter 10, and after reading, I'll follow up with a few quick facts and then my impressions of the story. So we'll begin with book 1, chapter 10. In the ward at the field hospital, they told me a visitor was coming to see me in the afternoon. It was a hot day and there were many flies in the room. My orderly had cut paper into strips and tied the strips to a stick to make a brush that swished the flies away. I watched them settle on the ceiling. When he stopped swishing and fell asleep, they came down and I blew them away and finally covered my face with my hands and slept too. It was very hot, and when I woke, my legs itched. I waked the orderly and he poured mineral water over the dressing. That made the bed damp and cool. Those of us that were awake talked across the ward. The afternoon was a quiet time. In the morning, they came to each bed in turn, 3 men nurses and a doctor, and picked you up out of bed and carried you into the dressing room so that the beds could be made while we were having our wounds dressed. It was not a pleasant trip to the dressing room, and I did not know until later that the beds could be made with men in them. My orderly had finished pouring water, and the bed felt cool and lovely, and I was telling him where to scratch on the soles of my feet against the itching when one of the doctors brought in Rinaldi. He came in very fast and bent down over the bed and kissed me. I saw he wore gloves. "How are you, baby? How do you feel? I bring you this." It was a bottle of cognac. The orderly brought a chair and he sat down. "And good news, you will be decorated. They want to get you the Medaglia d'Argento, but perhaps they can only get the bronze." "What for?" "Because you were gravely wounded. They say if you can prove you did any heroic act, you can get the silver. Otherwise, it will be the bronze." "Tell me exactly what happened. Did you do any heroic act?" "No," I said. "I was blown up while we were eating cheese." "Be serious. You must have done something heroic, either before or after. Remember carefully." "I did not." "Didn't you carry anybody on your back?" "Gordini says you carried several people on your back, but the medical major at the first post declares it is impossible. He had to sign the proposition for the citation. I didn't carry anybody. I couldn't move." "That doesn't matter," said Rinaldi. He took off his gloves. "I think we can get you the silver. Didn't you refuse to be medically aided before the others?" "Not very firmly." "That doesn't matter. Look how you are wounded. Look at your valorous conduct in asking to always go to the first line. Besides, the operation was successful." "Did they cross the river all right?" "Enormously. They took nearly 1,000 prisoners. It's in the bulletin. Didn't you see it?" "No." "I'll bring it to you. It's a successful coup de main." "How is everything?" "Splendid. We are all splendid. Everybody is proud of you. Tell me just exactly how it happened. I'm positive you will get the silver. Go on, tell me. Tell me all about it." He paused and thought, "Maybe you will get an English medal, too. There was an English there. I'll go and see him and ask if he will recommend you. He ought to be able to do something. Do you suffer much? Have a drink. Orderly, go get a screwdriver. Oh, you should see what I did in the removal of 3 meters of small intestine, and better now than ever. It is one for the Lancet. You do me a translation and I will send it to the Lancet. Every day I am better. Poor dear baby, how do you feel? Where's the damn corkscrew? You were so brave and quiet. I forget you were suffering. He slapped his gloves on the edge of the bed. Here is the corkscrew, Senor Tenente, the orderly said. Open the bottle. Bring a glass. Drink that, baby. How is your poor head? I looked at your papers. You haven't any fractures. That major at the first post was a hog butcher. I would take you and never hurt you. I never hurt anybody. I learned how to do it. Every day I learned to do things smoother and better. You must forgive me for talking so much, baby. I am very moved to see you badly wounded. There, drink that. It's good. It costs 15 lire. It ought to be good. 5 stars. After I leave here, I'll go see that English, and he'll get you an English medal. They don't give them like that. You are so modest. I'll send the liaison officer. He can handle the English. Have you seen Miss Berkeley? I will bring her here. I will go now and bring her here. Don't go, I said. Tell me about Tricia. How are the girls? There are no girls. For 2 weeks now they haven't changed them. I don't go there anymore. It's disgraceful. They aren't girls. They are old war comrades. You don't go at all? I just go to see if there's anything new. I stop by. They'll ask for you. It's a disgrace they should stay so long they become friends. Maybe girls don't want to go to the front anymore. Of course they do. They have plenty of girls. It's just bad administration. They're keeping them for the pleasure of dugout hiders in the rear. Poor Rinaldi, I said. All alone at war with no new girls. Rinaldi poured himself another glass of cognac. I don't think it will hurt you, baby. You take it. I drank the cognac and felt it warm all the way down. Rinaldi poured another glass. He was quieter now. He held up the glass. To your valorous wounds, to the silver medal. Tell me, baby, when you lie here all the time in the hot weather, don't you get excited? Sometimes. I can't imagine lying like that. I would go crazy. You are crazy. I wish you were back. No one to come in at night from adventures. No one to make fun of. No one to lend me money. No blood brother and roommate. Why'd you get yourself wounded? You can make fun of the priest. That priest. It isn't me that makes fun of him. It is the captain. I like him. If you must have a priest, have that priest. He's coming to see you. He makes big preparations. I like him. Oh, I knew it. Sometimes I think you and he are a little that way, you know. No, you don't. Yes, I do sometimes. A little that way, like the number of the 1st Regiment of the Brigada Ancona. Oh, go to hell. He stood up and put on his gloves. Oh, I love to tease you, baby, with your priest and your English girl. And really, you're just like me underneath. No, I'm not. Yes, we are. You are really an Italian. All fire and smoke and nothing inside. You only pretend to be American. We are brothers, and we love each other. Be good while I'm gone, I said. I'll send Miss Berkeley. You are better with her without me. You are purer and sweeter. Oh, go to hell. I'll send her. Your lovely, cool goddess. English goddess. My God, what would a man do with a woman like that except worship her? What else is an Englishwoman good for? You're an ignorant, foul-mouthed dago. A what? An ignorant wop. Wop. You are a frozen-faced wop. You're ignorant, stupid. I saw that word pricked him and kept on. Uninformed, inexperienced, stupid from inexperience. Truly, I tell you something about your good woman, your goddess. There was only one difference between taking a good girl who has always been good and a woman. With a girl, it is painful. That's all I know. He slapped on the bed with his glove, and you never know if the girl will really like it. Don't get angry. I'm not angry. I just tell you, baby, for your own good. To save you trouble. That's the only difference? Yes. But millions of fools like you don't know it. You were sweet to tell me. We won't quarrel, baby. I love you too much. But don't be a fool. No, I'll be wise like you. Don't be angry, baby. Laugh. Take a drink. I must go, really. You're a good old boy. Now you see, underneath we are the same. We're war brothers. Kiss me goodbye. You're sloppy. No, I'm just more affectionate. I felt his breath come toward me. Goodbye. I come to see you again soon. His breath went away. I won't kiss you if you don't want. I'll send your English girl. Goodbye, baby. The cognac is under the bed. Get well soon. He was gone. That was the end of chapter 10 of book 1. There's only 2 more chapters left of book 1, 11 and 12, and then we'll begin book 2. But first a few quick facts, and then I'll give you my impressions of the chapter. The Medaglia d'Argento is the Italian Medal of Valor. It's just the silver Medal of Valor. It's similar to, I guess, the War Cross, the British War Cross medal. But during World War I, they were awarded to mostly military personnel and civilians who expressed, exceptional courage in the face of danger when they faced the enemy. They issued over 38,000 silver medals, and the bronze that he was talking about, they issued over 60,000. That in comparison to the gold, they only issued about 380 of the gold medals. So that's quite different. The bulletin, when he was referring to the bulletin, whether he read it, that refers to the official bulletin. It was published by the United States Committee on Public Information. It was, I guess, a cross between like an official federal newspaper and a gazette. And it was meant to precede like official federal agency documents, so it was considered propaganda, right? The bulletin was like the homogenized version of what they wanted people to see, and because they got a synopsis of what was going to be in the Federal Register papers, then they were probably less likely to read the Federal Register to find out what really happened, facts and details. It was kind of a way of getting people, like what they would call now a soft launch for information about the war. And it always painted the Allies in favorable light, and it always, ignored or downplayed any of the casualties or any of the negative effects of war. By contrast, the Lancet that he was talking about is an international peer-reviewed medical journal, completely different piece of public writing. It was founded in 1823 by Thomas Wakely. It has been published weekly ever since, and being that it's peer-reviewed medical journal, that means that it goes under a lot of scrutiny. Nothing gets published in there that is not factually proven and criticized by all the experts in that field. So during World War I, it was instrumental in that it played a significant role of documenting and analyzing the war's impact on medicine and society. Remember, at that time, technology was exploding in terms of like the weapons, of the chemicals, telecommunications. Everything was coming on the scene. Science was exploding, and it was hard to keep up with it all. And so that's what he was talking about, those two publications. Kind of interesting. Coup de main is a French term that means a blow with your hands. It's a swift attack, relies on speed and surprise, and it's usually a single blow. Brigata Ancona, he was referring to the Navy Italian soldiers. I'm sorry, not soldiers, seamen. So my impressions, I would say, it seems like I don't know, the medals are an issue, right? It seems like, oh, they're trying to give him something special prize for what he did, but I think the author is alluding to kind of a deeper conflict in, what value these tokens or gestures really have. What do they really mean? And in that, does accepting a medal mean that he accepts the war? I mean, I don't know. It's can be very controversial. I don't know if you're a fan of Peaky Blinders, but you should be. It's such an awesome show. It's put out by the BBC, and it's a series about these brothers who live in a small area of Birmingham in northern England, and they all enlisted together during World War I, probably on what they called the POW battalions. In the British government, when the war first started, they went to small communities and they tried to convince the men of the town, the men that worked in factories or wherever, to enlist together in groups, and they'd put them all in the same battalion, and then they would go to these big battles like the Somme, and the whole town would get wiped out. Or Ypres was another battle in Belgium where they wiped out almost an entire town. Towns, of people, of young men, because they were all fighting together in what they called these POW battalions. And if you watch that show, Peaky Blinders, they talk about how they were the small Heath Rifles and they all went together. And the lead character had the job of a clay kicker. So they basically recruited all these coal miners. There were almost 1 million coal miners in England at that time, but they got them to go and try to dig these tunnels, right? It's trench warfare, so it's just one ditch fighting another ditch across a big field, wherever they were right outside or tried to stay outside of range of the weapons systems. And so, because they couldn't come over the top of these trenches where they'd get mowed down by machine gun fire, or big guns, grenades, whatever, they came up with this strategy to get men to tunnel underneath these fields, and they had to use their legs to try to kick the dirt. That's why they called them clay kickers, because they used their legs to create these teeny little tunnels, and then they just try to live inside of these little holes, because they would dig all day and then they would come out and be it was like only enough space for one man at a time, until they built bigger. Every so often they'd build bigger rooms underground, and then they'd try to keep going. But the enemy caught on, and German soldiers were also digging in the opposite direction trying to find them. So it was very, very dangerous work. And that TV show, obviously it's fictionalized version of what happened there, but they do reference it quite a bit, and it is based on true events. But it's kind of interesting because the lead character in that show, Thomas Shelby, he was one of the clay kickers, and he fought in all of the major battles, and so he was received commendations probably at every single one, anything you could get. And it's part of the plot line throughout the series that he famously threw his medals in the cut, which is basically the sewer system, right? They had these canals built that had water that took all the sewage out of the city, and they ran these gypsy boats or whatever on these. But anyway, it was sewer, so nobody's gonna swim down there and get his medals out. So basically, that's what he thought of them, is that he threw them in the toilet, literally. And it's just kind of sad because it says a lot about what it highlights, I guess, the conflict that soldiers have They risk their lives, they give parts of their person, and they end up with, a ribbon. I don't know what that says. It is a nice gesture, but I don't know that it makes up for a lot. I mean, the psychology required to engage in warfare is horrific. And if that's your consolation prize, I don't know that it's worth it anyway. That's just me. I apologize if that feels disrespectful. But anyway, the official bulletin, the propaganda machine of the government, was so effective in that time. It makes me kind of wonder what propaganda we're being exposed to today. I mean, I know there's so much that goes on the internet that so easily distracts us from what's really happening in the world. I don't know. Makes me question myself. And the free market press that we have in the United States does not help. Whether they do it purposefully or not, they block the flow of truthful information by choosing whatever stories they want to focus on and picking out the topics that we discuss, and they kind of frame everything for us so that we, are void of independent thought. And we don't have to use our critical thinking skills as much as we should. And it's just unfortunate. And I'm just as guilty as everyone else. But I don't know. News organizations just are not obliged to spread useful information. And I don't know that they ever have been. They're there to sell. Back then they were trying to sell newspapers or trying to sell a war or for whatever reason. And now it's the internet or television news or breaking news that tries to sell us on different ideas. And I just think if we hope to establish any kind of better society, we need to favor truth and education for everyone. I think we have to train ourselves to think about things and make better decisions. And that's why I'm so weird about words and language, and why I think it's so important that we get our facts straight. Because it starts really small, right? It starts with misusing a word, right? We start using a word in a different context, and before long the meaning has changed. And then people are confused about that subject whenever it comes up. And then someone starts calling it fake news or whatever. I don't know. One person usually postures as some kind of an authority on the subject, and then that person ends up controlling the entire conversation around that particular topic. Usurp process complete. And it's just unfortunate. We have to be faithful to what we say. I tell my students this all the time. Say what you mean and mean what you say. Be willing to stand by it. That's why you have to put in effort to research your topics and know that what you're offering is of value. But anyway, sorry I digress. I just try to be fidelitous, meaning as faithful as I can to the truth. And so if you see any errors, please correct me. But even when I was doing the research for the quick facts, right? If you Google coup de main, the Google translation says that it means a helping hand, right? When it literally implies it's a sucker punch, right? I don't know if you've ever been sucker punched. I have. It's not fun. It is not a helping hand. It's usually someone sneaking up on you and trying to take advantage. And I just think, again, it's an example of how things so easily get twisted. And it does, when he talks about the bulletin versus, and then in the same, little mini dialogue talks about the Lancet publication in the same section. I don't know if it's purposeful on the point of the author, But it is another example of the counterpoint narrative, right? The Lancet is peer-reviewed. It's a medical journal. That means they don't publish anything that has not undergone intense scrutiny by the top experts in that field. Meaning there are no logical errors, the evidence that they provide is irrefutable, and it is never grounded on speculation or opinion. Never. By contrast, that's all the bulletin is someone's arbitrary decision about what the public needs to know, and they create a narrative around that, a story to sell people, because it's more interesting than the truth. But anyway, I'm preaching now. Okay, that short sentence, though, when Ronaldo was talking about what he's doing as a surgeon and that he should submit a paper to the Lancet for publication. He is obviously a very skilled surgeon. He obviously follows the latest research in his field, and he had to know whether or not his work would meet the qualifications, the very high standards for that publication. And so that says a lot about his capabilities as a surgeon. And I think I don't know if it's intentional or not, but it just seems like there's another counterpoint or contrast between Henry's reserved nature or reserved personality and Rinaldi, who's super outspoken, extroverted, boisterous, and it highlights the differences that they have in their culture too, right? Americans are mostly English, at least culturally, at this time, and there's just a stark contrast between other Europeans. They're just much more reserved, and I think that shows in Rinaldi's personality and Henry's. But it's strange that he continually refers to them as being the same underneath. I mean, everything is a matter of perspective, but I do teach a section on listening every semester, and I try to emphasize to my class that, the best way to overcome any barriers to listening is to believe that you can find common ground with anyone. There's always more that connects us than that which divides us. But common beliefs are what led millions of men and women to serve their countries in that terrible freaking war, and in every war. The beauty is that they all came together to fight. The tragedy is that they all came together to fight. Anyway, that's all I have for Book 1, Chapter 10. In the next episode, I'll continue reading Book 1, Chapter 11, A Farewell to Arms. Please join me next time for more tea and bedtime stories. I look forward to talking to you again soon. Thanks for listening.